just win the range war there a little.
And yeah, I mean, you look at through NT's history, he started playing in 2017. He's played all of your stuff. He's played a lot of the bruises. He's played your Wardens, he's played your Thresh, your Braum, your Tahm Kench, you name it. But there are a couple of enchanters down there. He was always a big Yuumi player. He was one of the biggest players to pick up that champion when it was first released. And it is kind of worth it when we are at these turning points in the series, when you have these bigger moments, to visit the history again. So we talked about Honey, who came in actually fairly late to the LJL scene. I mean, we talked about Jet coming in this split, but he's been around a little bit as a rookie over in Korea. But everyone else on the roster has been around for some of the earlier seasons of the LJL. Once has won the damn thing. NC only left the top 3 one time in all of his splits of playing. And on the other side, there's plenty of real pedigree there too. In these games, you're praying, you're relying on that experience to carry you over the finish line in these, again, the flashpoints, the ability to turn things around in the big moments.
Both of these teams have been forever the bridesmaids and never the bride. They have always been second best to Detonation Focus Me, second best to other teams in the league. Look to Sengoku Gaming in 2020. Look to Rascal Jesters last year when they were so close to making things work and they just couldn't make it across the line. They are battling it out in an absolute knockdown, drag out series that has gone the distance thus far. It's 40 minutes games a piece right now. We're into game 4. It feels like game 5.
We had a 47-minute game in game 1. What was game 2? So like
46.
40, yeah, again, over that. It got... We've been going the distance in each individual game. And if it were to end it in this game, and it was only a four-game fracas, it would still be one of the longest series that we've casted.
I mean, very appropriate you say you can go the distance because it's a Herculean effort, and everyone who's seen that Disney movie knows exactly the song I'm referencing, and it's just so apt.
Well, bless my soul, Zaya's on a roll, coming in the bot of every Japanese opinion poll.
Oh,
look, I love my Disney references.
What
That one's a stretch, but for those of you who
you're a
appreciate
hero, but I think that one's. But I think we might be looking more at 0 at this point, and I'm going to stop trying to reference this at this point.
I'm going to keep that on the back burner, see what I can throw it later into this cast, as we always do. The caster has made a pop culture reference.
Indeed.
What we're seeing immediately is seeing these two 2v2s starting to square up, fighting early. They have the ability to do so. You've got an area on one side, got the Guardian on the other, ability to really start playing out in these brawl-like affairs. And when you look at the Xayah with the Aerie, the ability to spike earlier in this game with the lethality, maybe Rascal Jester again have an ability to kind of get ahead in the game in the way that they've done pretty much every game so far.
And that's a pretty interesting AI power spike curve. We've seen more linear trajectories on this one. This is a little bit more of a swoop going on. Early on, favoring Rascal Jesters, but the later this game goes, the more Sengoku Gaming going to feel happy about it, at least by the statistical metrics.
And remember that tweet which came out from Nemo, game 1?
I do.
Carry mode on. Last game, Honey showed that. And they were the old lane partners, of course, I've access that. In a team which I would say were actually our second best team last year. Rascal Jester were either second or third. It was between the two of them, but those two players in lane were obviously incredible at their own right. But actually looking towards the bot side again, we'll see if actually they're going to be able to defend Hachimacha, who's been caught out on the blue buff.
Oh, Once goes in and does what Once loves to do, which is be incredibly aggressive.
Be prepared for the invade of the Sentry in game 4. Once taking away that blue buff and Hachimacha for one of the first times starting to get bullied out.
I'm a little upset at that reference, but it's poor unfortunate souls here that I am trying to deal with this as poor unfortunate Hachimacha dealing with all his camps being stolen away.
Once is not really content with just taking one camp. He's going to go the distance and take away the wolves as well.
You made that reference.
Shut up, it was a good one in place. And Honey left alone briefly in lane, but this is what happens when you get that early shove. Having the Lulu, as opposed to something like the Thresh, which can actually fight early, control that wave, it does very much help. And now we have ourselves a bit of a split map.
Absolutely, and because the vision walls didn't come down as easy to spot that out, they kind of went under what they could see. And they got into the buff and made the steals happen. Great stuff from Once.
I'm actually kind of disappointed in myself for only seeing that like halfway through the actual sentence, and
that was a good one, I think.
It was sure something. We'll let chat decide whether it's good or not. But
all right,
we definitely know that these players in the bot lane, we've seen the camera pan down here time and time again. It's because they're so important and they are so damn good in their own right. And I love the fact that in this draft, some of the previous drafts, I've thought, okay, they feel a little bit impotent, a little bit toothless, and I feel like these teams haven't drafted well. In this game, Plenty of answers across the board on both sides. I think this is competitive. I think both these teams have hype carries to play around, ways to play around, different engages, and ways to deal with certain other champions on the other team. This should be a tight, close affair, and I like that it has come down after a couple of very close games. All the tools on the table are now setting them up for another confrontation of a similar standard.
Absolutely, and it's, as you said, you've isolated the Jinx, Lulu, and we kind of called out in the last game that at least why some of the pros and the coaches say, look, this is why Renekton's partly picked, is that ability to draw pressure and play semi-weak side 1v2 scenarios and still kind of be semi-aggressive at the same time and give freedom to your enchanted Jinx lane to try and shove up. Pair that up with some jungle invades, pair that up with putting the Poppy 10-20 CS behind in the early game is great news for Sengoku Gaming.
And when you look at someone like the Lulu right in lane, if you don't give them that kind of degree of safety, if they have to blow flash early because Hatchmatch has made the way down there, Lulu can't lane. Lulu, Lux, all of your big enchanters like that. If you're not Rakan, you can't lane without flash, because Rakan is like halfway between the enchanter and the more mobile battle engager, all this other stuff. They get to really jump in and out. So once gives the ability to push in, punishes the Poppy, but also papers over the cracks of one of the potential weaknesses of this lane.
Well, we both play D&D, and we know that Bard's the jack of all trades, and Rakan certainly fits that mold. Doing very well, of course, at the ability to be flexible in what he can do.
Yeah, well, he's sadly not multi-classed into Cleric, because you're not going to be able to revive...
I don't think there's some of the spells available either at this point. There's no Zillion in this game, so... some multi-part references, don't you like him? Anyway, Dragon's being started by Sengoku Gaming, but Secret might come over and be as obnoxious as possible, but Entity is playing Warden. A little bit of multi-classing himself there. Gonna be getting a hold of that early dragon. That's the earliest dragon we've seen this series, because a lot of these early dragons have either been, what's the word? Interrupted or not gone for. They've all been kind of post 10 minutes, honestly, I feel, this series. That's some very late souls.
Well, no, this is the most active early game we've actually seen out of either of these teams, actually. You look at this game, you look at once on an aggressive champion, uses the matchup well, even though it's meant to be one which gets countered later into the game. By the way, there is actually... I'm actually not sure if there's a bug which still exists for Jarvan. This happened in the LJL before, where effectively if you Jarvan ult into Poppy W, it effectively activates the W, but because you're unstoppable, it doesn't actually stop you, and then you can EQ afterwards.
Is that an intended interaction?
I'm not sure. I believe it is the way it is. So keep your eyes peeled for that. I know that occasionally we like to call out some niche mechanics. This one could genuinely be game-changing if we do see what happens there. Actually, Ignite popped down from Secret. I think NT was trying to mind game whether Secret was going to jump in, wants to take control of that again, and just ends up being the wow dubstep Ignite.
NT was trying to reset and kind of got invaded in onto. He was quite low on the mana, so will be the summoner spell down. And he's going to get interrupted this time. This time Secret goes in and there is no Ignite reminder. The Ignite in trade as Honey may have to burn the heal. Flash out. Heal as well, but now Secret's in trouble. Needs to think about getting away. There's still the heal on Sol. Can try and bait that.
About to get lethal tempo. It's just active now.
In there. Can do as much damage as he can, but it means that Honey, with no mana, trying to get those final autos, not buff the heal. Turn around, flashing
Honey!
There's the heal. Honey can't quite get it. One more auto. We're doing the rooted trade. Secret just about gets out, and the summoners are traded nearly evenly. Secret keeps his flash, and that is it.
If you needed an on-screen example of why you ban out Honey's Jinx, it's because he knows his ranges, he knows his limits like that, and he comes in and, remember what we were talking about with Sol and Secret and how they're strong in the TV2? They are one of our best bot lanes we have seen in the LGL, overall, historically, all of this stuff, and Honey comes up and he's punching them as good as he gets, even in CS, but seriously starting to take some names down there.
Absolutely. The Herald spawned 20 seconds in, and what is not absolute is who will win this one out. Of course, Paz hasn't had to bow the Dominus before the Herald fight, so he will have that available, and that's such a critical part. He called it out in the previous game. This time it's available once here with Cataclysm also available.
We don't even have AD carries with ults for this fight. Sometimes you'll see the AD carry getting a little more XP because someone's left them in lane. Got the Poppy ult coming through, one's shoved away.
That's a big one, down to 1500 HP. It's secured. In goes Secret. Grand entrance into the cage.
There we go.
It's a huge one. Massive Megadar into the wall. Rascal Jesters get the fight. Jet survives, but only on 2% HP. Trying to survive out his Ino. Paz desperately trying to heal up. Has to flash out. Rascal Jesters get the team fight, get the Herald, and get out alive.
Even with Sengoku managing to win the arm wrestle in the bot lane. They lost summoners for it. Doesn't matter if you got the Renekton, who spikes around this point of the game, wants to fight around those empowered abilities. It wasn't enough. The combo lands from Rascal Jester. You talked about it. When Jet locked in the Veigar, you got that Gnar, you got the ability to just punt people into the cage walls. They don't have a way out. They don't have the flashes in Rascal Jester. This is a huge win for them, make no mistake.
Secret with the flash,
That's
grand
beautiful.
entrance, Mega Gnar, picture perfect stuff.
And it's also the Poppy Veigar too. Not something that we talked about in the combo before. We were focused on that bot lane because, of course, that was going to be where the fighting was. Even with that, you see the power of the Renekton. You mess up your spacing a little too much, someone gets caught out, Renekton takes down a couple of people. Maybe if that happens before Jinx goes down, that fight turns around horribly in the other side, but it's not going to be the case. And after Sengoku have maybe the most active early game they've had in this series of either team, they still bite the bad end of that trade and they're behind in gold.
I feel like we've said that a lot this series. Rascal Jesters have been just that little bit more successful in the early and mid game. It's just gotten increasingly tight as the game has gone on. Still, you get Hachimecha back into the game, you get a kill onto Recap's Veigar, you get the Herald, and maybe you can look to get some plates elsewhere in this game. Sol would, I'm sure, love to get a little bit more gold, a little bit more resources into his back pocket.
Would do indeed, and we can see again, we're not at those first items yet, but with a minute up on Dragon, Sengoku would love to start stacking that to at least have some control of the neutrals, which they've really lacked this series.
Yeah.
They've had to flip a couple of adjectives. I think that's probably the correct adjective for it. I mean, we use a lot in the esports scene right now, but it seems quite apparent as Sengoku are going into... smell the burger, smell whatever the hell they're cooking. But
Rocks in the finals. We've been over this. Back to that.
well, I mean, speaking of rocks, I mean, we were talking about the rock, paper, scissors. You know, Sengoku were meant to have the better matchup versus Rascal Jester. Heck, we both thought that Sengoku were going to win this 3-1. Rascal Jester have sucker punched them. They have slapped them. It hasn't been an one-sided affair. It has been very close. But getting those 2 early victories, it's definitely rocked what we thought of Sengoku. Once now walking in over vision, there are no flashes here on the bot side, but they do have ults.
There's teleports available as well, of course, but they're not unleashed for at least another 2.5 minutes. So at least they're just not unleashed for 2.5 minutes. Not at least. It's not like there's not a variable unleashed teleport timing. That would be an interesting bit.
Yeah,
of
imagine if it was like a
RNG
crit chance of occasionally just randomly getting that.
Randomly, you have an unleashed teleport.
That's the one. Okay, what is also not RNG is when you pick up this package. Jet has it, there's a dragon live, and we saw this so much of this split, it's no surprise. Fighting around Corky package is a dragon, it's what you do.
Sengoku Gaming with that package comes straight across the Cataclysm. It's a burning shot glass that comes out, but Secret just gets on out, and now Recap is here.
Oh, Honey's been punted! Honey's gone!
He's just dead! He's trying to survive, but look at Secret, look at Sol! They're so damn low! Secret needs to get out of danger. Here comes Honey with the rockets! Here comes the boom!
Oh, and after Hachimecha, I thought he'd won that fight for
It was brilliant.
Rascal Jester. Punts away the Jinx. We know that, Honey, if he gets excited, he's going to do work. Sengoku, they outplay once on the tip of the spear, tip of the Demacian standard, comes out with a huge play. We know again, Sengoku were kind of falling behind in a lot of what they wanted to do in this game. That is a great way to stop some of the bleeding that came after that Herald fight.
What a hill to plant your flag on. It was looking pretty dire, but they hold strong, and so much damage comes across. And honestly, you're right. Honey getting knocked out, I thought it was doomed.
Yeah, you see that happen, but a large part of this too is kind of... it's kind of a two-sided affair of Secret getting out because of the extended range of the Xayah Rakan and being able to kind of get that battle lance even further out, but turns out it's not able to dodge a global ability, and Honey gets gold from that. Gets to get some free time on a wave. That's a plate down as well. Jinx was meant to be out of that fight. How the hell did they get away with that much gold?
Herald just got summoned as well. I believe it was running out of time. Of course, Hachimecha, with the way that play go, didn't have the opportunity to set this up as easy as they like. It's still going to get in here. It's a 3-man shove, but a 3-man defense. I think it'll just be the plates, and that's
And there's no gold to Sol. There is no gold to Sol. Those traps, they might have seemed like a little bit of a wasted opportunity there. It stops Sol getting close enough. Secret and Hachimecha get the gold from the Herald. So while all that gold was picked up by Jinx in the last fight, none can be said for the same with the Xayah.
Reminder, of course, Sol and Secret have picked up 2v2 kills. They got first blood on the Jinx of playing around the 2v2. This game, for once, Honey is actually up ahead and feeling very happy. It is that Jinx that has come out solidly ahead here with the goal, with some of the plays coming through.
Look, there are 10 seconds left on the 14 minutes. If Rascal Jester stay, look at that pink ward just behind them. You know who's got a teleport? That's a Renekton. That's a Renekton that's just got a reset and can start charging up their rage bar. In fact, just hit the Gromp a couple of times, maybe to start stacking that up.
There's it gone.
Just need to keep an eye on that. See if whether... Actually, nope. Scout it out. Sol spots that out. There was a moment of question marking.
Here's the playoff stats of both of these teams. You can see the gold efficiency, both well over that 100%. You can see the DPM, both solid from both teams. A little lower kill participation for once from Honey, who's normally right up there compared to the regular season, at least.
But, look at the gold efficiency. That's a big. That's a stat which I love because it actually handles handles the data a little bit better, you know. And in fairness, they're playing hyper carries. You're meant to have high gold efficiency because you're meant to be doing damage and you're meant to be given a lot of gold, right? But you just kind of like you just snowball to high hack when you end up doing this. But both these players have been doing that to very high levels, and have to see now, of course, who can carry the stand a little higher for their teams in this game. It could be the very last game of Rascal Jester take it.
All the while that we've been focusing on bot side, but there were 4 plates that went down to Ino in the top. Gets first tower down as well in the face of the Renekton. I think partly that was a result of how the Herald play went when Paz kind of got out of lane in a bit of an awkward state. Ino gets a good shove in. You end up with a fantastic situation for this Gnar over the Renekton, who, as we said, has been a criticized, a controversial pick in pro play over the past few patches and years.
Yes, and I do want to just kind of revisit something again, because there are many people who will be tuning into these games for the purpose of watching MSI. Yes. And they'll be watching it because it's playoff season. You just want to watch the playoffs of a region. And you might look at this and go, see LJL, look at this low level of play. I think a lot of what these teams are doing is currently very unseen. The way that Sengoku was setting up for those plays, the way that Once is actually playing very aggressive and playing towards the limits. I do think these teams are playing at a high level. Listen to random minion counter on the desk earlier in the days, saying, you know, if you send one of these 2 teams internationally, they'd probably fight it out with the other minor region firsties. These are not bad teams, even though they are technically 2nd and 3rd in this region. And now, of course, DFM sit at a pedestal above them, but these 2 teams are doing a lot of work, and not all of it's getting noticed.
What happens when you put 2 closely matched teams together? You get a closely matched series. What a surprise.
And sometimes you are going to be second-guessing each other. It does mean you get awkward affairs, but a lot of that's because the nullifying impacts come out so strong from both these teams.
And we've seen some slightly odd drafts, but part of that is series micro metas, where you're trying to one-up your opponents, especially when you are so closely matched, and you don't necessarily feel that a standard draft is always going to win you the advantages you're looking for. 16 minutes into this game, Sengoku have 2 dragons. They've got themselves the 2nd Herald, but it is 2 towers and a fair gold lead right now to Rascal Jesters. And Secret on the flank gets on, but the Mega, well, it's not enough. He's gone. I was going to say the Wild Growth might keep him alive, and he's just dead to right. Secret taken pretty low, but there's nothing more to write home about. A quick pick, 40 seconds before the dragon.
We said in a couple of the early games, that's a lot of safety for Jet and Honey. There's no throws, no engage. Not the case in this game. Secret really not wanting to let this series go to a game 5. Pick off the Jinx under the turret, and that's very important. It does deny that Jinx, who had been getting quite a lot of gold, actually. It denies them the ability to kind of just keep pushing ahead in this game.
Absolutely, indeed. All of the other words that convey agreements in the highest terms. Agreement. There we go. I put a nice little neologism there. But all the while, you're looking at a switch in how the mid laners performed last game. Remember, Jet 3-0 on the Victor early on. 3-0 for recap this game on his signature. It feels like, of course, the Syndra right up there, of course, but
well, the
this
Ahri
season,
split. The Ahri
absolutely.
Split.
This season, the Veigar, the Ahri have been so good for this player. He is at a terrifying point.
Well, he's at a terrifying point at a terrifying time because there's a dragon available and recap catches Jet.
He's stuck in, flash out, tried to hold it, but doesn't manage it. Recap forward! Primordial burst, but he's not going to try and get knocked down. Does go down mid laner for mid laner, and then it's exciting Honey, who's trying to turn this team fight around. The feathers are down, but no pullbacks come through yet. Herald summoned, Gale force forwards, Paz trying to get to the backside, and it will be a 1-for-1, all things said and done.
Oh, we could have just had that on a sound tape really at this point. 1-for-1's the whole day so far, but actually, with recap with the teleport, and actually jetting the 2, all those ultimates, I mean, I thought that was an incredible cage, but the flash forward, that just felt too ballsy. However, Jet wasted the package now, not going to have that. Hachimacha,
quickness nearly up, not quite there. It's a grand entrance pass, trying to heal up, but he does go down. Dragon is secure, but it comes in trade for the top laner. Honey trying to free fire. Ino nearly at the Mega Gnar. There's a teleport back in, flash out. Teleport back as well. NT goes down. Mega Gnar surely coming up. Honey just about alive. Flashed onto, walloped into the dirt. The back end once trying to disengage. It's a double for Sol. And look at the damage coming back from Recap. Recaps the start of the play and gets another once now, trying to escape, flag and drag over the wall. But that's it. He'll get out and little else to write home about.
Oh, and Sengoku, they did a lot of legwork at the start of that fight. They thought they had themselves, oh, okay, we can teleport back into this fight. Vision control from Rascal Jester was achieved on the bottom half of the map, though. Recap gets an angle, comes in, and Ino helps the team run down the retreating Sengoku members. This all starts with, again, a bit of the arm wrestle on the way into the river. Rascal Jester have won this the entire series. You have to flash out here as Jet. I think if you actually get stunned by that wall, you don't get a chance to kind of re-enter that fight. There's a chance that the fight's actually over by the time you make your way back in. But still, trading mid laners at this point, because you've got the extra excited factor onto Honey, I feel like that benefits Sengoku. But after this point, it's kind of at parity in some ways. I mean, Paz does have the flash. I was wondering if that was going to be the real deal breaker, but he's taking all of his HP bar and damage. I really think Paz messes up at the back half of that fight. That shouldn't be a full health bar on Renekton going down for free. You have flash, you got an entire rage bar, you got to use it. He fails to do so, and I know outvalues the Renekton in this fight at the point where the Renekton is meant to be ahead.
I know that you're trying to ward off the team, but if you're going down anyway, at least make it interesting. Flash in, cause some disruption, don't just stand there. And I know it's a difficult call to make. It's a split-second decision, but the split second goes against them. Jet has got himself to a Muramana. That's a big point, but I'm looking on the other side of the rift and I'm seeing 5-1 on this Veigar, who, yes, went down, but came back in and picked up another kill after his primordial burst deleted Jet.
Going back into those gold values, see where all those gold values lie. And honestly, it is a lot of hit in Ino. 2,000 gold up over Paz. And we know we talked about Honey and that Axis team from last year. Remember, Ino was on that roster. Yeah. So I know he's had a couple of chances to take down Honey in this split so far. Played 3 regular season games and a number of games in this playoff series alone. And Ino is a kind of player who we have praised so much for a newbie coming in because he is new to the table. He's now on a team which is now going to start up this Baron. He's got himself a teleport, got himself a Mega Gnar as Rascal Jester. They've done this a lot this series. They've pushed down this Baron with tight timings, but the blue trinketed off of this one.
They are indeed. And Jet was around the corner looking to see if there's anything more. Shirelia's popped on Enti to try and speed once in for any potential further contest, but this Gnar, Trinity Force up that 2k you called, continue to split push away, didn't have to teleport, and it's still back to the Baron baiting, back to the attempted engage. The Secret's pop, the Shirelli's looking to get in here, wanted a difficult position, knocked up, knocked down, and the jungler is dead, and it'll be right back to Baron, you imagine.
No, but there's a teleport coming in from Paz, which leaves Ino alone on the bot side. Rascal Jesters went out both sides of this play after what we thought was a critical early game from Sengoku. The combos come online from Rascal Jester, all the multiple ones with the Veigar cage. Recap on his Veigar, so important. Now teleporting back in.
It'll be a 4v5 cage, just goes wide. I know nearly at Mega, but the rocket poke, my days, forces the Feather Storm. And remember, Baron hasn't actually reset. They could go back onto this. Look at the poke across the wall. Jet's in a fantastic position. I know, looking to play gatekeeper.
Secrets!
Jet's gone in. Jet goes down. Jet absolutely fails it. He goes kamikaze mode and does not get the kills he was looking for.
He looks for the big play, and you know what really seals the deal there? They didn't have vision in that brush. They didn't know the ward was there. If he sneaks in over vision, Rascal Jester engaged onto the rest of the team, the Corki blows them up. It looks like an in, and honestly, it kind of is in that situation, but they didn't know the ward was there. He goes down for it, and that is a critical play for Rascal Jester.
Honey and Jet have been so good in the regular season. They're 2-4. They're 2-3. Look at their opposing numbers. Sol, 3-1 and 6, survives the early pressure. 5-1 on 2 on this Veigar. The team comp from Rascal Jesters, yes, it got a little bit thrown for a loop when some of those early plays, those early invades came through, but it is well and truly online now. Back to the Baron.
Back to the Baron, because that's where Rascal Jester are finding their success. It's an Infernal Rift. There are less choke points to play around, but that doesn't mean there aren't any, and Rascal Jester have really pinned Sengoku up against them. You've still got your Jinx, you've got the 2 items. There's a chance that Honey can start popping off, but Secret has been finding his targets the entire game so far with the extra backup. It's been very dangerous for Sengoku. The package is here, but it feels like he needs to get so high value to now outplay what Rascal Jester are going to do. We've seen what happens when the Corki dives into the Veigar. It just does not work out for you.
But the last 5 minutes can be absolutely undone, unwritten with a single smite. Okay. Infernal Soul is live for Sengoku Gaming. They win this. They get themselves an incredible benefit.
Okay, watch out for the cages. Watch how Secret is using the cages to play out these fights. One goes down. That's the Shirelias.
Oh, so much damage. Dark Paz now having to escape as well. I know, taken low, but we'll have Mega coming through. Secret will force the flash out of NT, and they'll have to back away now. Shirelias is down. Cage! Onto once, doesn't quite die. Iron flashes in. It's turnaround damage onto the package. Corki, who cannot press W. There is nothing available now, but I know.
Honey?
So damn low. Honey trying to wipe him out. Flash for the rock. He gets the kill, but Soul goes forward, tries to go down. Honey can't quite make it happen. One goes in. Soul stays alive. Honey goes down. The keeper's verdict and the steadfast presence is there for Hachimecha. They can stop the Soul, and Rascal Jester's clutch it out.
I think the Jesters are a little bit upset about us talking about Jet and this guy called Honey. Aren't they such good players? Sol and Recap break Sengoku's ankles around that fight. They deny the Soul. They take another fight. This is how they did it. You can see the Shurelia's usage from Rascal Jester is actually very, very impactful. It just forces out a lot of defenses very early on. They have to just keep falling back, and Jet has the package. He's still sat here on top of it, and he gets ulted into it. He gets ulted into it. He doesn't have the reactions. He doesn't space well enough, and Jet, who is our first all-pro mid laner, the mid laner that almost defined the split in terms of the level of mid lane that you can play in the LJL, he's the one that gets caught out. And up to this point, Honey tried to clear up some of the massive errors from this, but Honey doesn't factor in that heal. Maybe an extra crit. I'm not sure if he crits him on all of those, or maybe if there was a flag and drag just a little closer, could have turned that yet again. But they're playing close to the wire, and the wire is cut deep into Sengoku's lifeline in this game.
It was a tightrope walking act. This time the wire goes, they fall down. Honey was inches away from winning that team fight for them, but now it's 3 items on Sol. It's 3 items nearly on Recap. He's very close to getting either a Seraph's Embrace, there we go, or a Zhonya's, depending on his choices here. Baron's still alive. Sol was stopped, and Rascal Jester very much in command here.
We actually saw Recap sit on the tier last game on the Syndra. He was more than happy to play around that and just kind of use it as that extra kind of laning slash longevity item. But Rascal Jester, they got even more gold lead than ever. They're going towards the Baron.
It's a massive chunk onto Once, but look at the damage back. Once makes it a 1-for-1 right now. Pass into the backside, flashy, do as much as he can. The rocket's land. Sol is gone. Jet redeems himself. Paz is still alive. Ido goes down, and of course it happens. Oh, sugar, Honey, ice the team fight.
Oh, and they're somehow out of the brink of the loss of this series. The carries stay alive. We take one fight to praise Recap and Sol, and it's gonna be the Sengoku members who bring it right back. They have the shields, they got the HP bars. Sengoku get themselves a fight and the Baron.
Double AD carries make it happen. Jet and Honey, take your hats off. It is an absolute battle, all complete gladiatorial match between these 2-star carries on either side. Here we go, let's watch it again, because Once somehow, some way, makes Secret pay.
And one of the big things is Secret dies far too early, and where's your threat now? You don't have the Veigar cage, you don't have the Rakan doing everything, and Paz flashes beyond the feathers and kills Xayah. This Renekton, which we have had a lot of things to say about, pulls out a critical kill on the absolute depth of this game.
Right. I'm going to need a second to breathe.
Do you want me to take over a bit?
We've got ourselves a mid lane siege. We've got Hachimetra and Secret on the flank, so I don't think I'm going to be given an option. It's a breathless engage, a breathless series. Secret goes in, does get a chunk on the Paz, but he's pretty happy as well as Recap is chunked in response. The later the game goes, yes, you've got infinite scaling in terms of the AP on Veigar, but his range becomes more and more of an issue because he just can't survive poke.
What he can do is stall out. He can kill minions, stop Sengoku getting the best of this situation, because if Paz isn't at the fight, actually a lot of the front line starts to struggle for the side of Sengoku. You got Once, who's done an admirable job as a Jarvan into this team. 1-9, you can put that 9 in the death column against that comp, and I wouldn't necessarily be surprised. Once, Middlecott asked him to step up. He's been taking a couple of leaps and bounds forwards in this game, getting some of those key team fights in order.
100% kill participation, slashes that gold lead in, well, I was going to say half, it's significantly more than that. It's all but gone at this point. Now they're holding onto this mid lane turret, and actually Rascal Jester's still the one sieging. Yes, you've got the Baron, but I don't know how much structural damage they'll be able to do.
Okay, important itemization update QSS down, Honey. You look at that Veigar cage, maybe there's a way that Honey can outplay it just one more time, and with the way that the gold is going, or the way the objectives are playing out this late game, it might just be one more fight which could work, and Secret is looking for the game-ending play himself. Goes in a long flank for, seems like the nth time this game. Doesn't find anything for this time.
Once is hanging around trying to play flanker here as well. We've got 40 seconds until another Infernal Soul point, or Infernal Soul fight. This would be Sengoku Soul. If they can get into the river, it's Rascal Jesters who are holding court. Has warded away by a Dark Matter. Soul chunked out Honey in trade as well.
He's got the shields on top of him. Remember, he's still got Legends Bloodline, able to heal up just a little bit. Still the rest of the Baron buff ticking up for Sengoku. So again, this is the arm wrestle in mid, which Rascal Jesters have won so often, but this time we've got a package to worry about. The gold is not nearly as healthy as it was for Rascal Jesters before, but all it takes is one mistake, one more jet going into the Veigar cage, and things can turn around. Once again, watch for the Shirelias, watch for the rockets, and watch for the Veigar cages.
Sol's chunk low. He's going to be out before this fight. I think that's it. It's Sol gone. They missed the rocket. Sol needs to heal up now. He needs to get into this fight now. There is a flash on Secret.
Where's the Poppy? Where's the Poppy?
Maybe a keeper's verdict. Will it hit? No, it doesn't. It's not who it needs to be. Once it's still stuck in the back of the pit, though, and it will disengage to allow Sol to come back in.
Okay, so now actually Rascal Jesters, again, they're playing as a unit. They're able to disengage. Secrets on the flank.
Tries to get back in once chunked out, but no, I know how to flash away. Pass still here. Package comes through into the stopwatch. The top laner is dead. Hatchman's in the back. He gets the dragon, but will go down. It's 2 in trade. It's the back end of this, of course. It's recap. Secures a kill back. It's still going to be a 3-for-1. Dragon will count as
well, is that going to be the end of it? There's a lot of people left here trying to hunt down Rascal Jester.
Trying to survive. It's Sol and Secret, the lovers duo, but I think it might be more like a tragedy. It's Romeo and Juliet, but they're not drinking poison. They're drinking rockets, courtesy of honey.
And it goes down oh so bitter for Rascal Jester, because we know that reverse sweeps happen quite a lot in our sport. They happen a lot in our game. There's something about the psychology, something in the air. And it's in the river in this fight, because Sengoku, they find another way to find one of these late game fights. They're starting to fire on slightly more cylinders than they were in the first two. A lot of this does come down to the fact that Sol was not in position at the first time because he had been chunked out. I know actually doesn't get that much with the cage done. And again, after the cage is down, after you've used the Gnarl, if the Jinx and the Corki aren't dead by that point, there is a window of time for them to get a couple of skill rotations out, and someone is hitting the ground. You get excited after that point, and Rascal just needs to play on with the retreat. That's kind of what happens here, and this is actually quite a threatened situation for Sengoku in the dive. You can see how much damage Sol is doing, but it's not quite enough at this time.
Oh, LJL. Wherefore art thou, LJL? A rose by any other name would smell as sweet. Game 5 might smell sweeter, I tell you now.
We've leveled up our level of English literature. We've moved from Disney movies into Shakespearean tragedies, and I'm not gonna call it. I mean, we've had a couple of games where it felt like it was a comedy of errors on that same note, but it will be a Midsummer's Night Dream for Sengoku to reach those finals after a reverse sweep. It's going to take an absolute brawl to do so. They're going to have to fight tooth and nail, and Rascal Jester are still stood in their way.
Absolutely. Midsummer's Night Dream was quite the play back in Shakespeare's day. It was all about kind of coming to a resolution between difficult situations and coming out on top despite it. Probably won't go into a full Shakespearean rant at this point. I'll save you all that. But either way, it's certainly turning out to a game of a few acts, a series with a few acts.
And this one's going to have a bit more pyrotechnics in it. So Dino is on this bot side, and you might have to deal with some fireworks coming out of Jet, but Jet not able to find the right angle at this time. Ino walks away after pushing in that bot side, and we're still in an even-ish game. It's going to come down to these team fights, and as it so often does with these late game scenarios, one mistake could determine your entire split. And that is such an amount of pressure to put on these players. We have rookies, we have veterans, but all of them are equal on the field right now, and your gameplay determines the rest.
Right, mid lane shove. Now the next aim of the game. Still going to be a hot point for both of these teams. Wave control being critical throughout the series. We've seen a lot of J ramming for honestly good reason. Both top laners now roaming up, matching, fighting over this red buff. It's going to be secured by Jet with a big one.
I'm the crew carry now. Rockets away. I don't even need to auto-attack with this build. As Jet does walk away with that. But you can see the Rascal Jesters, as opposed to some of the other times they've been on the back foot, they're actually across the river. They've managed to board that piece of terrain, and they're able to get vision across the other side of it. I know, a big part in that. Again, this guy that came in as a rookie last season and had a bit of a tough time of it. He didn't have the best split. Or season rather in the LJL, has started to really show up in spring of 2022, and he is now looking to bolster up his team, see what they can do alongside all of this.
Oh my days, that's a lot of damage. Minute until the Infernal break. That's a big chunk back with the feathers. Sol giving out as good as he takes it. I know though, give him free time on towards this bot lane.
And Baron is started up yet again from Rascal Jester. Once now, not in a position to fight for this Rascal Jester. Again, in the tug of war, starting to find the inches on the rope.
Honey, taken pretty damn low.
Sol is getting huge work down here. We talked about the Corki versus the Xayah. It would happen at some point, but We see a big one land. We see 3 combos of feathers dropping back-to-back. 2-man Baron now coming in from Rascal Jester. Remember that one of the best things about Veigar's scaling is not just the AP. Your W goes down in cooldown as well.
Happening.
Recap is really low HP after that point, and they have to pull off.
Do indeed, and that will prevent any further aggression onto the Baron. It will leave Sengoku a chance to come in and clear out some of this vision. Rascal Jester did a very good job securing it and trying to put the pressure, turn the screws on Sengoku Gaming.
Those screws can only go so deep, it does feel, because these fights are going to be so laden with damage. Again, you can set up the situation all you want. One click in the wrong direction, into a rocket, into the feathers, into whatever. Maybe it's a Veigar cage, maybe it's something else. That could be the entire game. Now, it's not going to be in the entire series, of course, if Sengoku wins. Rascal Jester have that extra mental advantage, I suppose, but they just lost the last one. Momentum in the series currently belongs to Sengoku, and this would mean so much for this team to reach the finals again. It means so much to these players, for so many of them to reach the finals for the first time, and it's going to be the Baron traded, but remember, it's not Rascal Jester on the Infernal Soul point. They are going to take themselves into the Dragon 3 back-to-back. Denied them the 3 times of asking, but look at Sengoku, they're going top.
They're rushing it. They need to be able to get out of here as quickly as they can. There's no one to interrupt, so it'll just be an easy shove onto this tier 2. I don't think they're going to get the inhibitor turrets as easily. Reminder as well that prior to that sequence of plays where Rascal Jester had control around the Baron, I know secured an inhibitor turret round there as well. Rascal Jester's now at soul point as well, so Sengoku need to make this Baron count or it's going to get real dicey in about 5 minutes.
The thing is about taking an inhibitor, it only matters in terms of can you revisit it again, because you'll now have to playing against the package, against the Baron. Jet picking up the package right now, rather than saving it for a potential next dragon spawn. Of course, it's on a 6-minute cooldown, have to be delayed now, that next dragon. Sengoku wants to really use this buff. They want to use this to end the game.
It's that ravenous Hydra in for Jet as well. The 4 items on Corki are well and truly complete. He is a Mac cannon. All the Halo references you want to make at that point. A Secret is of vision and can maybe try and punish Jet here.
You can see again, Soul playing out those mind games with Jet, saying, okay, you're going to walk up for that rocket. I'm going to place my feathers here. Let's see how you like that. Jet doesn't have as much sustain, but he does have a Ravenous Hydra, able to use a little bit. He hits a wave, he'll start to heal back up. Clips on the other side, very much helping with that too. Death Ball starting to form from Sengoku. They have so many items. QSS, remember, on Honey. He's managed to be able to keep that in his inventory for quite a long time, and it's going to be very, very important. Should Secret look for the charm, and Secret, speaking of him, is getting chunked out. Now, I love what Sengoku doing!
Oh, quite Havoc and let slip the package of war. Try to go forward and force out Aino there, but it won't quite matter. Aino flashes, but he'll get back out in time.
He does, but Aino no longer has that flash, and that is actually quite important. What we need to see from Rascal Jester now, though, is what are they going to do knowing that the package can't come in to defend them? Oh my god, that
damage is so obscene. Feathers have called. Once in the back end of it, can look in. Cataclysm comes through, but he's going to go down to a GA as Primordial Burst chunks him down out of it. But they will survive.
But it's still going to be Xayah ult gone, Xayah flash gone. It's only the GA taken away from once. That is a massive trade up from Sengoku. They're looking to bring us to a game 5. Slowly, maybe not surely yet, but it is getting ever so close.
Friends, countrymen, viewers, lend me your eyes. We've got ourselves a base shove coming in. Sol chunked out at 20% HP. Again, he survives, and the inhibitor does as well. You must go nowhere. You must watch this incredible act happening in front of your eyes. It's another game that's sure to go past 30 minutes. Sorry, 40 minutes. I'll get my timer right this time.
Again, we're heading towards the later stages of the game, and, you know, we sat here as a fan broadcast 2.5 years ago, seeing some 5-game series. I remember that CGA Rascal Jester game in the first round of Spring 2020, and what a series that was. We continue to pump out some of the most entertaining series that I've ever laid my eyes on, and if you have not watched this region before, well, welcome to your debut game. I hope you're enjoying it, because I sure as hell am.
Are you not entertained? I'll go from a Julius Caesar reference to a Gladiator reference. That feels mildly appropriate, I suppose. We're going to see how this game plays out from here. We've got 2 minutes until the Infernal Drake. It's another game where the Soul's coming in 40 minutes.
And, you know, you were talking about, you know, all of that that Gladiator. Well, I'd love me some Russell Crowe, but, you know, I'm a big fan of Les Mis too, and Soul's looking a bit miserable on the health bars, but you can look at the amount of damage, and at this point, it probably is 24601 in terms of numbers with that. And see the Sengoku resetting, looking to get all their cards in order, get all their pieces onto the board. They're playing around a late game Renekton again, but Paz has actually been making the team fights look fairly good. A couple of those flash stuns have been turning this game. Lots of items being picked up into people you don't expect at this point. Mikhail's on Lulu, important to keep an eye on. Putrefier from Secret, we saw that the Shirelias, of course, are very important. Having healing reduction onto, again, double Gore Drinker topside, very important to keep track of. So many moving pieces. Let's just narrow it down to a few to watch. In the last couple of fights, we have looked for the Poppy ultimate to split the fight, the Vigar cages, and a lot of the displacement into it. And then on the other side, you're looking for package, and you're looking for how is Honey doing in terms of HP bar, and is he excited?
You can feel the tension, and if I may, I'll continue your allegory, because can you hear the players singing the songs of anxious men this late into the game? The comms got to be clean, got to be ready, because you only get split seconds to make those decisions now.
And you've got 1 minute, not quite to midnight, but oh gosh, you can see Honey has the rapid fire cannon.
Shirelia's popped.
And you know, actually, what's very interesting here is we talked about that Mikhail's built up for the Lulu. QSS is gone now for Jinx. Full damage, relying on NT. It's not the time catch this time, it's in the items, but Honey has a Bloodthirster, has the ability to start regenning up, and watch what's happening with the flanks. Secrets on the flank.
Can he make it count? Honey stepping forwards, avoids the cage, but Paz gets caught. He'll get a bit chunked up on the other side. Hatchemetcha goes in, Sol down to 5% HP. One final order between. He has to Featherstorm the rocket splash damage. Paz! Again he goes in. Golden he goes now. Hatchemetcha trying to play this one out as best he can. Recap goes down. He's dead. The Veigar is gone. It's 2 for none. A double for Honey. This man, this myth, this legend of the bot lane in the LJL. I said it before. I'll say it again. Oh, Sugar! He ices the team fight!
He's gonna get the rocket, not just quite onto the Nexus, but bring on the Silver Scrapes! Teleport to the minions! Sengoku are forcing it!
Bruised, bloody, scraped, but they are bleeding silver! Sengoku Gaming will make the reverse sweep dream a possibility! We are going to Game 5!
It takes, again, the length of the map. It takes all of the dragons they can think of. It takes over 40 minutes. We knew coming into today, this would be close.